there was another person from the training staff that lived there, and then some people would come in. So imagine,
we're going to get into your story, but just on a broad context here, did you ever sit with some guys where you developed this empathy? You knew they were really bad in some of the things they do, but then you'd see this side, maybe it's with their kids or other things, and say to yourself, maybe this person's savable.
Yeah, sometimes you think there's no helping this person. But yeah, sometimes there was one guy that comes to mind. He was a meth dealer, and when he was also a user, and when he would use it, he did some horrific things to people. And he had, I think she was 4 years old at the time, his daughter, and he was like the father of the year with her. And so I always thought, I've seen this good side. I've seen that you can, give a shit and care if you want to. He just chose not to. But I've seen people that, no, they're not switching.
There's nothing there. Yeah. All right. So did you have any hesitation accepting this role? Like, did you think about it? Like, maybe I want to go diplomatic side. What was that like?
No. In fact, I was trying to play it cool on the inside and maybe this is a test. I don't want to just be like, hey, where do I sign? Let's do this. Can we do it right now? I was like, maybe I should ask more questions, and seem like it's not so easy for them to get me, but
we'll do it live.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and you might answer this. I forget. Was there anything you signed? Anything like that?
Well, just like the normal employment stuff.
Okay.
But nothing that would have been, unique.
That here's what it got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had some stuff later that was unique where I had to get an attorney general letter to be a part of some of the things I was doing that overlapped in the States because it was a legal activity. But,
yeah, that's huge air quotes right there.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's maybe the only super special document to...
All right. So what's the training protocol for something like this? You're not going to the farm. You're not doing the 12 to 18 month regular rotation the other guys do. What happens with you? So
I had some stereotypical training, but what was cool was I got to go to this mansion, essentially, where this wealthy person lived that became my mentor, who was an officer as well. He was independently wealthy, but it also worked for the agency for a long time.
So if I'm understanding this, he runs some sort of company, whatever it is, or is wealthy through doing something. And in doing that job, he's also doing things within that job for the government, or are they totally separate?
No, totally separate. Totally separate.
Okay.
And so he had been an officer, I think, for about 30 years at the time. And it was on a lake. It had a guest house that I stayed in, and it was super cool. We advanced some of the basic skills, when you're in regular training, you'll do surveillance detection routes. We would go over new ways to do that would be specific to my mission set, which I can go into. But
please, yeah.
Or training that was way outside the box. I got to learn stuff about wine. I got to learn stuff about bespoke suiting. I got to learn all these other things that had to do more with the business world or big money world. And one thing that was super cool was he would bring in a chef that was working in Vegas at the time. And we would have these training things where I would learn about the food and get to watch the chef cook. And it's just not the typical thing you would think, it was like spy training. But
what's your cover story later for knowing that type of information? Where'd you say you learned that? If someone asked you, if you're in a situation, they're like, how the fuck do you know so much about wine? Like you sommelier or something, where are you saying you got that skill?
Just through college or living or working or, wine specifically was something I knew nothing about. I had to learn a lot about that. Actually, one time when I graduated a certain phase, he had given me this cigar. It was extremely expensive. I forget the brand. It was maybe a $2,500 cigar. I didn't know at the time. And so we're sitting out there on the dock, and he's congratulating me on hey, you finally did something right here. and we're smoking it. I never smoked a cigar in my entire life at this point, but I'm not gonna like tell him, you know.
You inhaling it?
Yeah. And so this thing is burning completely sideways.
Oh, you boated it.
Yeah. And so we're just sitting there drinking scotch, and he looks over at me. It's supposed to be this really, you know, bonding moment with me and my new mentor here. And he goes, "Are you hotboxing me with a cigar, man?" Like, he's like, "Have you ever smoked a cigar before?" I was like, "No, I haven't." "So you want to bring that up, maybe?" He's like, "This is an expensive cigar, dude." I was like, "I didn't ask you to give it to me," but it was super embarrassing.
So it's just you and this rich guy at his mansion.
So it was him. There was another person from the training staff that lived there, and then some people would come in. So imagine every single topic that you would need to know, they would bring in somebody that was a complete expert in that topic.
Could you give an example of a topic?
I'll use one that I didn't use, but let's say like lock picking. They would have brought in like the most, you know, master thief that you've ever heard of to show. Something like that.
Whenever I think of any of these jobs and all the things you got to learn,
Yeah.
you know, first of all, how long is this period you're at this mansion?
It's maybe 9 months.
That's not a long time.
No, it's,
right?
Yeah. You're drinking from the fire hose.
You're drinking from a fire hose. And these are the most intricate things that if you're ever called on to do, I don't know, any of these 1,000 things or whatever it is you learn, it's going to be in a high octane, high pressure, potentially life and death situation. So you better not be able to forget. How do you even process all that and learn all that stuff and like have faith that you've retained it?
So this will go back to the psychology a little bit, is they're looking for people, one, that are quick learners. You have to do that, but also that have the right psychological makeup, that if we don't tell you exactly what to do, you're basically going to default to making the right kinds of decisions here. So that's key. You know, if you can't rap with it, if you can't, you know, play jazz and go off the sheet and still know what to do, it's not the job for you.
Makes sense. So it's you. Does this guy have a wife and family too?
Nope. He had been single his entire career, never
just
married,
chilling.
never had children.
Is he still, whatever way he made money, is he still doing that job at this time, or is he retired from that?
He's retired now.
All right. Yeah. So he's strictly just supporting, say, agency at this point.
Right.
With guys like you.
Yeah.
And you're the only trainee there.
That's right. Yep.
What was, I mean, obviously you're getting trained, but what's a day like? You waking up at like 5 a.m. and going for a run?
Yeah, actually, we would go for runs. He was really big on running for, you know, working with jet lag and things like that, but also moving around like that is beneficial in a lot of other ways. You know, you can get your area fam done. You can look for surveillance while you're running. You can use it to cover a lot of other activities. So he's like, if you don't run, this isn't going to work, which I hate running. So that was no good. And also, you know, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, and he's a fairly tall guy. So I'm like taking 20 steps for every single one of his, trying to keep up, running around the golf courses by his place. But,
how do you do like surveillance on running? Like, what do you mean by that? Where he would train you on surveillance doing this? Like, what types of things?
Just that you can use that as one of the means to identify if you're under surveillance, right? So
going for a run.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
How might you do that?
I can't get into the technical specifics of that, but I'll bring one thing up.
Okay.
If other people are trying to follow you or keep up with you, that you typically have to be involved in what you're doing, right? And so you can draw people out in that way. You know, you can use it as a funnel, right? I can go places a car can't go if I'm running because it's too narrow, for instance, right? So you can funnel.
So maybe if you're going for some 10-mile run one day, he could run a scenario where out of nowhere he goes, all right, car coming on the left, where are you going? That kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, you can come up with a lot of scenarios from it. And that's a lot of what the training was different scenarios over and over and over. It was also very much building my persona that I would use as cover, my personality one of the things that is just key that was hammered in this is you do not want to look like some military guy walking around. You've got to shed that part of the persona and look like a business person. You have to look like your attitude fits, for what you're portraying.
So they're psychologically changing you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you have the tats back then already, or
No.
you didn't?
No, that came later.
Did you have long hair, scraggly beard? What was the...
So at that point, I would say middle length hair, but that's another thing, right? So you want to have hair that says that's not a military haircut on purpose, right? You also can use having longer hair for other things, like, for instance, when you're going through an airport or trying to hide something, a blow dryer is a good place to hide something in.
Really? I actually haven't heard of that one. Why is that?
Just because of the makeup of it and how the metal's structured within it.
You can't see it in the machine?
Depends on the machine, but sometimes you can hide things in that. But that's hard to do if you're bald, right? Like to explain, hey, why is this
Why
in
do
your
I have a
bag?
hairdryer?
Yeah.
I'm a ball fro.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere Drewski's like, we're going to find it.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.